Whoa, we definitely need her on our side. So, of course, one of the advantages to being the archer is that as long as you have a decent tank with you, you usually don't have to deal with anyone getting in your face.
Stop squirming, Wesley. You'll make it worse.
Apostate, keep your distance.
Well, the Maker has a sense of humor. Darkspawn and now a Templar. I thought they all abandoned Lothering.
The Spawn are clear in their intent, but a mage is always unknown. The Order dictates.
Wesley.
That woman is an apostate. The Order dictates.
Back off, man.
Dear, they saved us. The Maker understands.
Of course.
I am Aveline Valenne. This is my husband, Sir Wesley. We can hate each other when we're safe from the Horde.
And also similar to Mass Effect, aside from just a straight response, you can ask characters questions by using the left-hand options.
A strange time to be hunting apostates. His fellows left with the Chantry priests.
I was traveling to Denerim on business for the Order, but I had to turn south when I heard of Ostagar.
Bad luck and judgment brought us together here before the attack.
The nice Templar has been convinced to postpone his hunt for illegal mages. So let's not dwell upon it, shall we?
Wise girl.
So, if you didn't figure it out beforehand, the Hawk's sister is an apostate, not part of a circle, and thus can be either killed or hauled into the circle at any time. You always wonder why they can't tell who the mages are, given that they're always wearing these huge stabs, but, oh well.
You're quick to offer your allegiance.
Another blade between us and the Darkspawn? Yes, please.
So long as the Horde is their first concern.
My duty is clear, but that is for another day, if we are granted that opportunity.
We will be fine. We all will.
For a while it looked like we were the only ones to escape the Darkspawn.
We aren't free of them yet. Just like at Ostagar, this is just the start.
You were there. Yes, I see it now. Third Company, under Captain Varel.
Then you saw how the whole of the army was defeated.
We fell to betrayal, not the Darkspawn. This arm of the Horde will not have the same advantage.
Ah, interesting. So it seems that both Aveline and Carver, which is Hawk's brother, were both in the army at Ostagar, were there for the, pretty much the slaughter, but managed to escape. Alright, well, as nice a person as Hawk is, no one threatens her sister.
So long as you know I stand with Bethany, Templar.
Understood.
For now, we move with you. North is cut off. We barely escaped the main body of the Horde.
Then we're trapped. The wilds are to the south, that's no way out.
We have no choice. The Darkspawn have us fenced in. We go south.
Alright, you can see on the left side here we have Friendship with Bethany plus 15, Rivalry with Carver plus 5. Again, this is a new system, or I should say a tweaked revision of the system. You recall in Dragon Age Origins there was only one basic meter, which was approval. And in order to get benefits from a companion, you needed to increase their approval, which had the undesired side effect of you having to pretty much be double-faced a lot of times, and depending on who was in the party, you had to perform certain actions in order to get them to gain approval and not get disapproval. So, for example, you pick up Morgan, you run around and you you know, be a bastard to Templars and that kind of thing, and she likes it. Or you maybe torture small animals, who knows. And then you pick up Leliana, and then you have to go around being a goody-good all the time in order to get her approval and that kind of thing. So one of the things I do like about this game is that they created this dual system of friendship and rivalry. So you can behave consistently as a main character, and the people who don't like what you're doing will get more and more rivalry, and the people who do agree with what you're doing will gain more and more friendship. And you get a bonus from... You get special bonuses from the character when they get to either extreme. So if a character gets all the way to maximum friendship, they become someone who really admires you, and believes that you are championing, you know, a very good cause. If it goes all the way to the right, then you lock in a rivalry with them, and even though they don't agree with you, they still respect you and your position. So you have a kind of rival-like camaraderie with each other. That was one of the number one things story-wise that I think they did right in this game. So, of course, Bethany, being an apostate, is much more aligned with other apostates and mages who want to be free. She and Vexus would probably get along pretty well. However, Carver is a little bit more of a lover of order and has slightly more sympathies for the Templars, though obviously he's not blindly following the Templar code, or else he would turn in his own sister, which would make him pretty much of a bastard. But he doesn't do that. He's still a decent guy, but that's just his leanings. So let's go ahead and level up these other two characters. We have Bethany the mage, so of course we're going to give her some more magic. And, of course, for number 2 stat for mages is always going to be willpower, so that they have more mana to cast spells. Bethany has a nice range of different schools of magic that she can be in. Her real strength is fire and ice, but I like to give her some healing abilities too, just because not all mages can be healers. So I'm going to go ahead and give her some healing spells right now. The nice thing is that they'll also kind of are pretty decent about automatically healing characters when they're in trouble, as long as they have the mana to do it. So as long as none of your characters are being completely overwhelmed by enemies, a lot of times a side healing mage can keep up with the healing so that you don't have to think about it that much. Carver is a fighter, so we're going to give him 2 strength, and actually the secondary strength or stat for fighters in this game is actually constitution as opposed to dexterity or willpower. Their abilities are tied in with these 2 attributes here. You can fight with a sword and a shield, or you can fight with a 2-handed sword, which is what Carver does, so we're going to give him Mighty Blow right off the bat. Alright, I think we're good. For those of you who think this is going kind of slow, I apologize. This is just because, since this is the prologue, I'm just pointing out a lot of mechanics here. Things will go a lot smoother as we go farther on into the game. Get some loot here. Got stamina potion. Another thing that the game does, again in the theme of streamlining, is you pick up junk, which you can then, which has absolutely no use except to be sold off for gold. It's almost a parody of some RPGs in that way. An extra source of gold once you get to a merchant, basically. One thing for archers I should point out, in the Origins game, archers had no secondary attack, so that when someone got up in their face, they could get interrupted in their firing unless you chose a specific skill so that they wouldn't get interrupted, which was not a huge deal. But in this game, they have just done away with that mechanic completely and replaced it with a dagger. So if someone goes all the way up so that they're right in the face of an archer, they will switch to a dagger attack, which is, of course, a lot less efficient, doesn't do as much damage. So you still want to make sure you keep range, if at all possible, with an archer. Make sure I didn't leave anything behind. No, it doesn't look so, like I did.
Now we fight!
Sometimes arrow attacks will knock enemies over, which is just a nice little free partial stun mechanic.
There's probably a lesson here about the dangers of magic.
You can see Bethany's pretty sarcastic about the whole mages are dangerous thing. The experience bar is the one that goes all the way across the bottom, so every time that fills up, we're going to get a level. And of course, just like Origins, I should point this out, again, I prefer to just keep things simple and just control the main hero, but you can switch and control other characters at any time. And so if you ever get bored with the main hero, or you just feel that in a fight one hero is better to be manually controlled than another, you can just pause it and switch whenever you want. Let's see what else kind of loot we got here. Dead refugees. As was mentioned before, this is actually taking place right, well, maybe not right after, but very shortly after the Battle of Ostagar. And Lothering has already been invaded. You can actually see it smoking way off there in the distance right there. So about this time, based on the chronology, I'd say that right now Vexus, Alistair, Morgan, Leliana, and Sten are all on their way to the Brazilian woods to recruit the elves at this point. Some rubble here with a ring. Rings are one of the accessories you can have. Everyone can have a belt, a amulet, and 2 rings. So this one gives us +3 health. Something that is, maybe you missed it, maybe you caught it. I missed it in the first time, but I caught it later, and I'll try to point these out as they happen every now and then. One of the things that's different about this story compared to the others is that it's a framed narrative. So this whole game is being recalled by Varric the Dwarf, who you saw in the opening, telling the story. And so we're going to get little reminders, some subtle, some not so subtle, that this is a story being told from a certain point of view. On the one hand, that is a partial explanation for why the look of the game is different than in Origins. It's a little bit more comic book-ish, is I think the best way that I can put it, and less gritty and realistic than the first game was. So that's part of just the fact that it's being told as a story by someone else. The other thing is, you may have noticed that Bethany was a little bit more endowed in the prologue, in the tutorial, than she is right now. So again, that's just a little subtle hint that as Varric kind of changes his mood, the story may shift every now and then, just slightly in its tone and look.
You're not getting away with that.
There's our favorite character of the Emissary, or in other words, the darkspawn that can do magic. You can see that the flask ability there has a pretty decent range. So even though we're not a striker kind of rogue anymore, we can still use the flask to help out our companions.
Quickly, before they regroup.
As
we
opposed
must press
to
towards the wilds.
as opposed to having to run up in order to use it. And yes, so currently we are heading south towards the Kokari Wilds. What I don't think any of these characters know yet is that that is generally where the Horde is coming from. If you recall in the original game, the Horde started off in the wilds and worked its way pretty much northward the entire game, with some small deviations here and there. Here we have our first locked chest. It's kind of annoying, but pretty much if you play any other class of hero, then you're kind of out of luck, because none of the characters you meet in the prologue are rogues, and only rogues have the lockpicking ability, which in this game you don't have to buy. It's just given to you, and it's linked to cunning. So the higher up your cunning goes, the better your lockpicking ability is. So we lucked out this time that you guys chose the rogue, because that means that we actually can unlock this chest. And that gives us a new set of armor. All experience is shared throughout the party. You can see that even though it was Hawk who opened the chest, it was some of the other characters who gained the experience enough to level up. Some people like that, some don't. Again, it depends on your style of play as to whether or not experience should be shared or just go with the characters who were involved in whatever action gained it. Mostly, I've found that that's kind of a taste kind of thing. Let's go ahead and level up here. Another thing that I'll be doing later on in the game to kind of speed things up is to, again, what I did in the original Dragon Age Origins Let's Play, is to skip past some of the very straightforward, just crawling through the dungeons, because on the one hand, a lot of, not a whole lot happens other than combat. And on the other hand, unlike other Let's Players, I just don't have a lot to say, I guess. I can't fill in a whole lot of silences with interesting talk. That's just me. So instead I'll just skip past it so that it's not just a whole lot of awkward silence with combat sounds. Carver, let's give you Giant's Reach. I kind of like passive abilities. Again, that's just because I'm a very casual kind of player when it comes to combat, and it's nice to improve them without having to add extra things down here to the toolbar that you have to keep turning on and off. Aveline, as you saw in the very beginning, is definitely a fighter. She uses sword and shield. So again, we'll be focusing on strength and constitution. Let's see. Oh, and by the way, for every character down, they have the skill tree down in the very lower right is the one that has these abilities here. And depending on whether they come to see you as a friend or a rival, will tell you which one it is. So if you're not really into the story, you're more into the gameplay, and you want to have a specific type of extra ability for a character, you can read it here, and then you know whether you should be getting them friendship points or getting them rivalry points. Let's do Shield Bash to start with, because that's pretty classic for a shield fighter. Alright. Your map is... The nice thing they did about the map, compared to the original game, was instead of being an opaque circle that covers up everything, it's semi-transparent and fades just into the main screen, so it's a lot less intrusive. Here we have our first bit of lore. I'm going to start off just by reading the lores as we find them, but if you guys think that's too boring, just let me know. So this one is the Kokari Wilds. It is said that in the midst of the Black Age, when werewolves stalked the lands of Ferelden in numbers that kept every farmholder indoors, and a hound on every doorstep, a powerful Arl of the Almari peoples stood and declared that he would put an end to the threat. His Arling stood on the border of the Dark Forest on the southern border of the Ferelden Valley, and he claimed that the werewolves used the forest to launch their midnight assaults on humanity. For 20 years, this Arl led an army of warriors and hounds deep into the forest. In his hunt for the werewolves, he slew not only every wolf he came upon, but also every member of the chastened wilder folk. Any one of them, he said, could harbor a demon inside and thus be a werewolf in disguise. For 20 years, the forest rang with screams and the rivers ran red. The tales say that an old chastened woman found her sons all dead at the Arl's blades. She pulled one of those very blades from one son's heart and plunged it into her own chest, cursing the Arl's name as she did so. Where her blood touched the ground, a mist began to rise. It spread and spread until it was everywhere in the forest. The Arl's army became lost, and it is said that they died there. Others say that they wander still. The ruins of his Arling stand to this day, filled with the ghosts of women waiting eternally for their husbands to return. The forest legend is, of course, the Kokari Wilds, or the forest of the legend is the Kokari Wilds. There are as many legends about the great southern forest as there are shadows, or so the saying goes. The chastened wilder folk have made their home there since mankind first came to these lands, and the wildlands spread as far into the south as anyone has ventured. Beyond the mists are vast tracts of snow, white-capped mountains, and entire fields of ice. It is a land too cold for mankind to survive, yet the chastened eke out an existence even there, and they tell of horrors beyond the wilds that the lowland folk could not begin to comprehend. To most, Ferelden simply ends with the Kokari Wilds. There is nothing beyond. The wilds is a land of great trees, wet marshes, and dangerous monsters. What more need be said? From the Land of the Wilders by Mother Alias, Chantry Scholar, 918 Dragon. So this is the Dragon Age, so actually fairly recently in history was this one written. We're not actually going to see the Kokari Wilds. Maybe that's a bit of a spoiler, in which case I apologize. But we did see a little of it in the first game when we had the Gordon trials.
You soulless bastards!
Ouch.
Cover! Looks like a fight. I will be ready.
Whoa, Didn't get out of the way in time. Fortunately, Aveline's on the case. Got him. But of course, he's got plenty of minions. Of course, we were able to dispatch him because this is casual mode. If this was higher difficulty levels, it would not nearly be that easy to get rid of an ogre.
Carver, wake up. The battle's over. We're fine.
I'm sorry, Mistress. Your son is gone.
No. These things will not take Carver.
So, yeah, this is pretty much the result of what class you choose to be. In fact, of all the things that can affect the story, this is probably the biggest effect on the story that is done based on your class decision. If you choose to be a mage, then your sister will perish. If you choose to be a fighter or a rogue, your brother will perish. And I believe this was done so that there is always one mage left in the family by the time the main game starts. It could either be the hero, Hawk, him or herself being the mage, or having the sibling be the mage. But I think the writers wanted to make sure that you had a personal stake in the mage versus Templar conflict, one way or the other. There's a couple other points in the story where they kind of ratchet that up as well, depending on, again, the choices you make. But this is purely based on a class decision, and there is, unfortunately, no way to save your sibling after this fight. He's killed in a cutscene, which is always absolutely 100% unavoidable in these types of games.
Carver gave himself to save us.
I don't want a hero. I want my son. How could you let him charge off like that? Your little brother. My little boy.
Mother, we can't stay here. Carver wouldn't want his sacrifice to be meaningless.
Allow me to commend your son's soul to the Maker, Mistress. Ashes we were, and ashes we become. Maker, give this young man a place at your side. Let us take comfort in the peace he has found in eternity.
I will never forget you, Carver. Our lives are more valuable to him than our prayers. Let's go.
Flames. We're too late. Here we go! Retreat!
Alright. So, once again, looks like we're surrounded.
I will not die today! They're too powerful!
Let's see if I can stun a few of them there. Well, my aim needs some work.
There's no end to them.
Well, well, what have we here? It used to be we never got visitors to the wilds, but now it seems they arrive in hordes.
That voice sounds pretty familiar to me.
Impressive. Where'd you learn how to turn into a dragon?
Perhaps I am a dragon. If so, count yourself lucky. The smell of burning darkspawn does nothing for the appetite. If you wish to flee the darkspawn, you should know you are heading in the wrong direction.
Wait. You can't just leave us here.
Can I not? I spotted a most curious sight. A mighty ogre vanquished. Who could perform such a feat? But now my curiosity is sated, and you are safe for the moment. Is that not enough?
We won't be able to get through the darkspawn on our own.
They are everywhere, or soon will be. Where is it you plan to run to,
We need to get to Kirkwall, in the Free Marches.
Kirkwall? My, but that is quite the voyage you plan. Your king will not miss you,
I'm sure he'll miss his life more.
Oh, you I like. Hurtled into the chaos, you fight, and the world will shake before you. Is it fate or chance? I can never decide. It appears fortune smiles on us both today. I may be able to help you yet.
Anything you could do for us would be appreciated.
Maybe we shouldn't trust her. I don't even know what she is.
I know what she is. The Witch of the Wilds.
Some call me that. Also Flemeth, Asha Belinar, an old hag who talks too much. Does it matter? I offer you this. I will get your group past the Horde in exchange for a simple delivery to a place not far out of your way. Would you do this for a Witch of the Wilds?
So indeed, this is Flemeth, looking quite different than when we last saw her, but again, Varric heard this information secondhand, so I guess that's just his idea of what Flemeth looks like.
What is a Witch of the Wilds exactly?
A chastened legend. Witches that steal children.
Bah, as if I had nothing better to do.
You're an apostate?
Yes, just like you.
You would go through all that trouble to have something delivered?
I have an appointment to keep. It is far more convenient this way. Happily, you're not without your own needs.
Makes me wonder, does her appointment to keep with Vexus, in that he's going to meet her later on chronologically in the story to kill her in an attempt to protect Morrigan, or is she referring to something else?
How much trouble will this delivery be exactly?
About as much trouble as my saving your lives not 5 minutes ago.
Point taken.
Good point.
If you knew my daughter, you'd know how seldom I hear that.
Should we trust her?
Wesley is injured. We'll never escape the darkspawn.
If you need to, leave me behind.
No. I said I would drag you out if I had to, and I meant it.
All right. Well, doesn't seem like we have too much choice in this situation.
We don't have much choice.
We never do. There is a clan of Dalish elves near the city of Kirkwall. Deliver this amulet to their keeper, Marathari. Do as she asks with it, and any debt between us is paid in full. Before I take you anywhere, however, there is another matter.
No, leave him alone.
What has been done to your man is within his blood already.
You lie!
She's right, Aveline. I can feel the corruption inside me.
What are you talking about?
From the darkspawn. All that blood. I knew when it happened.
Then how much time before you...
Not long now, if I am any judge.
There must be something we can do.
The only cure I know of is to become a Grey Warden.
And they all died at Ostagar.
Not all, but the last are now beyond your reach.
Aveline, listen to me.
You can't ask me this. I won't.
Please. The corruption is a slow death. I can't.
He's your husband, Aveline. I can't decide his fate.
Be strong, my love.
Without an end, there can be no peace. It gets no easier. Your struggles have only just begun.
Flemeth.
I thought that might interest you.
You expect me to believe a myth swooped out of the wild to save the champion?
Oh, come now, Seeker. Do I need to recite the tale of the Warden as well?
No. Perhaps I shouldn't be surprised to hear of her involvement.
I liked my version better, too.
What else aren't you telling me, then? Did she send someone with the champion?
In a manner of speaking.
So it's true. Continue. But if you tell me they all flew to Kirkwall on a dragon...
Nothing so fanciful, I assure you. The witch kept her word, and got them to Guaran, where they took ship. They sailed north across the waking sea, lashed by terrible storms. 2 weeks they spent in that dark hold, packed in with the fearful and the desperate. And then they saw it. Kirkwall, the city of chains. Long ago it was part of the Imperium, slaves coming from far and wide to work the quarries. Now, it's a free city, but I use the word loosely. Sail through those black cliffs and you'll see what the slaves of old saw. The gallows, welcoming you. That's where their ship landed, with all the rest.
They're not letting anyone into the city.
What? That can't be.
It's true. Look at them all.
They're Fereldens, just like us. Fleeing for their lives.
And they would throw us all back to the wolves. Unbelievable.
So long as we're all safe, that's more important. We need to find Gamlen. Our family has always been highly regarded in Kirkwall. He can do something, I'm sure of it.
Let's hope he received your letter.
The guards seem to be reporting to that man. Perhaps we should speak to him.
Alright, so we have crossed the Waking Sea. So we are now just to the north of Ferelden. I don't know if those dark clouds are just a normal storm, part of the storms that were sinking the ships, or if that's perhaps due to the darkspawn to the south. I don't know. But looks like we're not the only Ferelden refugees that have fled north as the horde is moving north. So this is, I think, a month or two later. So I'd say about this time, Vexus, the Warden, and the rest of his team are probably down in Orzammar by this point. Either that or waking up Shale, one of the two. And looks like we're going to have to get into Kirkwall, past the crowds, find some way in. And we will do that in the next video.